Hello and welcome. I am Calandra Williams, the CEO of Truth Written Nonprofit Solutions, LLC, and I help Christian faith based leaders to launch and grow their nonprofit organization. So today I'm going to be talking to you about starting a based faith based ministry. Oh my gosh, I know my words are so tight today. All right, so let's talk about this. Yesterday, I had the opportunity to talk to a young lady about starting her ministry. And we just started on a Facebook, basically like thread. And she posted the question, and I noticed no one had answered. And she was just like, I know the Lord has called me to start a ministry. And he was just like, I don't know, if it's supposed to be, if it can be a nonprofit or LLC. So I kind of chuckled to myself because it is always the perception is that when starting a ministry, you have to start a nonprofit. And I came to debunk that lie. You do not have to start a nonprofit in order to do ministry. Yep. Right. Nobody really talks about this. I just kind of gave her some information. And then I was like, okay, we probably should take this conversation offline. So I was just like, hey, you can inbox me or whatever. We can talk offline on a Zoom call or whatever. So she inboxed me. And so when we were trying to do a Zoom call, that didn't work out, y'all. So she called me on FaceTime. And she began to tell me about like the vision that God had given her. And so I just broke it down. Okay. So let me just kind of help you to better understand like what a nonprofit is. Number one, with a nonprofit, it has to be for a public benefit. All right. So meaning that your programs and your services are created out to be able to serve like a greater good for the community, for people. And it may not always be like people, because some nonprofit organizations are like for animals and just different causes or whatever, but again, it has to be like a public benefit. All right. And so number two is that you can't own a nonprofit. And a lot of people, they go into it like, well, I'm the visionary, I'm the founder, I'm the executive director, but you still don't own it. Like you can't take it with you. You can't pass it down to your children. Like it doesn't leave legacy in any type of way. No, it does have its benefits. It really does. Now you can make money with having a nonprofit, but you have to understand is that the funding that you receive, whether that's individual donations, corporations, grants from the state or the government or whatever, that money has to be allocated toward your services and your programs first, then your board. So because in order to incorporate a nonprofit, it's required that you have board members. And so in order to do that, or sometimes they call them directors, but they have to vote on if you would be paid a salary as the executive director. And that's going to depend on how much revenue you have coming in. And then like, what are your expenses, that are going out. So all of that plays a factor in that. So you have to keep that in mind. What else? With a nonprofit, if you go on to just also understand that having a nonprofit does not automatically mean that you are a 501c3 organization. Okay, so a nonprofit, you're just registered with the state. When you go on to have your 501c3, that means you have federally registered your nonprofit with the IRS, and they recognize your organization as a 501c3. This has a greater benefit because you're federally exempt from paying taxes on any funding that is received into the organization that is specifically related to the programs and services that you are offering. Now, if you are receiving any type of funding for other things that do not relate to your mission, you do have to pay taxes on that. All right. So talk to your tax professional about all of that, but I'm just giving you the deets today of what that actually means. All right. So that's that part. Now, LLC. Okay. I have both. I have a 501c3, and that's for my ministry, nonprofit. I don't charge for any of my services. Like we have Bible studies, I have conferences, Yeah, the blogs, just whatever the Lord tells me to do. So that's my 501c3 ministry. People donate over there. Like that's, everything is free. I don't charge for anything. But then I have an LLC, and that's my business side. Okay. So it's a limited liability company. Now you have to find what structure works best for you, and especially with the vision that God has given you. But an LLC worked best for me and my business. Number one is I am the owner of my business. So I own this. I can pass this down to my children. Okay. So it's really important to understand that. Also, with an LLC, one of the benefits of it is kind of like you still get to kind of operate as a sole proprietor. So like a lot of times when most of us start out, I know for me, I started out and I operated with just my DBA. Now this official, but it's not like super, super official, because like here in the state of Texas, your DBA is not registered with the state of Texas. It's just registered with the county. And we have like lots of counties. Okay. So somebody else could or register somewhere else with the same name. But when it's registered in the state, like that thing is official. So anyway, so I registered in Texas as an LLC for my business. And so again, I'm the owner of it 100%. So all of the funds that come into my business from the services and the products that I offer, I get that money. But you want to separate that out. I'm kind of getting into some other stuff, but you want to separate it out. Make sure you have separate bank accounts. Now, if you are the sole owner, you can keep it together, but you need to have QuickBooks, an accounting system, or something to where you can extract and know that this is the business transactions and then these are my personal transactions. And that's actually how I've done it. For since I started, it's always been kind of combined, but I have QuickBooks and I go in and I reconcile everything every month, so that when I go to file my taxes, this is the business side, and then this is my personal stuff over here. But anyway, so yeah, that's some little free stuff for you. But anyway, so you have to decide what works for you. But you can do ministry in your business. So like my business, I help Christian faith-based leaders launch and grow their nonprofits. I incorporated my faith in my business. I don't deny that part over there. I can show up in that area. But let me give this part. When you start a nonprofit, the Bible tells us that the wealth of the wicked is stored up for the righteous. Y'all, come closer, because I'm about to give you this mind-blowing revelation. All right. So a lot of times when we start 501c3s or nonprofits or whatever, as Christians, what we always assume is, oh man, let me try to put Jesus in my mission, and I got to put ministry in the word. Don't start a nonprofit and do that, because it limits you on funding. A lot of people are like, I want grants. And so I'm like, okay, well, let me see your mission. And then your mission is I'm just a faith-based, and I'm a faith-based mentor, and blah, 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 and blah, 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 blah. In my ministry, I'm not going after grants and stuff like that. So it doesn't matter to me with the 501c3 side. But there are some people that they want grants and all of this type of stuff. And I'm not saying that grants are not out there for Christian-based ministries, but they're very slim. So if you're going to start a 501c3, position that 501c3 not as a ministry, but position it strictly as a nonprofit. You can offer mentorship without saying it's a faith-based. Okay. Now I'm not saying that when you build out the program and the services that you can incorporate the faith in there. I'm not saying that, but I am saying legally on your paperwork, don't do that, because you limit yourself. All right. I'm just telling you, it works, y'all. I have, incorporated so many businesses and so many nonprofits and stuff. And yeah, I see funding all the time, different grants and stuff. And I'm like, can't apply for it. Why? Because you're faith-based. And they typically will always say, if it's faith-based, you're automatically disqualified. So I don't want you to be disqualified before you start, but I do want you to have clarity on both of these, and understanding that you can register. Let's say that you're doing ministry as yourself. So for me, I'll say Calandra Williams Ministries. I can register as an LLC. So Calandra Williams Ministries LLC. Maybe I know that I'm a speaker, and of course number one, as Christians, you should never do ministry for the money. Okay. Motive's already wrong. Let God really examine your heart and deliver you from that spirit. But hopefully that's not what you're doing. But understanding is that you can do ministry as an LLC, but like for instance, let's say like you're a speaker, you travel, you do international speaking or whatever, and sometimes you go into places and they don't, give you an honorarium, and that's okay. You should not do ministry or show up because they're paying or not paying. I don't know. That's just a little weird to me. But let's just say like, God has called you into full-time ministry and that's what he's called you to do. You can incorporate as an LLC because that is what's, basically taking care of you and providing for you. So back to the conversation I have with this young lady. So like we're talking, I give her basically the breakdown of what a nonprofit is, what a 501c3 is, what an LLC is. And at the end of the call, you know what she decided to do? She decided to do LLC. Because you can incorporate your LLC and still you can add in like a social benefit side to it. So that's something that's new that's come about. So you can do that. You can receive donations for your LLC. You just have to tell people like, hey, I'm not a nonprofit. And it's okay for you to do that. So yeah, I just wanted to give those little deets this morning today and to let you know like, hey, don't limit yourself. Think outside the box. Don't just think that you have to incorporate as a 501c3, but that you can also, you have the option to incorporate as a LLC as well. Well, until next time, y'all, it was so great hanging out with y'all. Have a great day. Bye, y'all.